Okay, first call business is Adrian.
Good morning, everybody. Session financials for today include an appropriations transfer from the Commissioner's office to cover county, state levy collection fees for the general fund, an appropriations transfer from the general fund to cover year-end needs in PERS for the coroner's office, an appropriations transfer from the general fund contingency to cover year-end wellness incentives from SEBCO, an appropriations transfer from the general fund to cover year-end needs in salaries for the clerk of court's office. There were no cash transfers this time, or there were no general fund cash transfers this time. Vouchers include payment of $18,400 from ADP to Cornerstone IT Incorporated for upgraded SQL server licenses needed for an upgrade to New World. Also, a payment of $23,874 from Water Resources to Collins Equipment Corp. For a new fuel management system.
And Cornerstone is a known, that was going to be the only question.
Correct, yeah, this was something that, I talked with Al on this. This was something that was ongoing and something that they need to do.
So the new rule requires SQL 2016. Correct. So this is not.
I just got one big circle here. The clerk of court's office, the salaries, is that they do that every year? Isn't that something?
Well, not every year. Usually if for whatever reason their payroll runs short of what was budgeted, they can usually transfer within their accounts, but this year they didn't have it. There's an adder at the end of this acknowledgement where the clerk of court says when you transfer money in the general fund, there'll be an offset to that.
Do we need to do that before the financials are
No.
approved or no? Okay.
No, because I mean, there's money in the general fund. This is just going to then allow for receiving money back in the general fund.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Okay.
So the Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute resolution number 17-146, itemizing the financials for the meeting of November 28, 2017.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, is that normally almost every year that we're doing?
Well, no, most years she'd be able to transfer it within her
Okay.
own account. Yeah,
Okay.
just occasionally, she doesn't have enough for that, and then
Okay.
provide more money, then she can do this as an offset. Well, it's not directed to be an exact offset, but it's money going to the general fund that has the effect of offset.
I mean, what's the, I guess is it just not, it wasn't budgeted for unforeseen, or, I mean, how do you not know the salary?
Well, as an elected official, she can make adjustments to her compensation levels for her folks. And over the years, she's always had a problem with some of her employees, because a lot of what they do is very comparable to what Chardon does, given how Chardon pays people. You lose people if you don't stay within the ballpark.
So let me ask you, so we agreed to the 3% this year.
Right.
And so was there a situation where she brought in more people that put her over, or?
I don't believe so. I think it was simply that she felt the need to provide some increases in compensation so she didn't lose people. I think this is something that, going forward, I think there has to be a little more maybe direct conversation with the elected officials.
Well, and I think that it is. It's just a situation where it undermines our whole budgeting process of our budget hearings and being able to forecast this. Is not that this is a huge amount, but I think that if we're sitting there, and that we have a kind of a opportunity to say, listen, here's where the money's at, and here's what we feel we can afford to do for an increase. I mean, if it was, 1 or 2 employees that we were dealing with, it's one thing, but when you're dealing with the vast numbers of employees across the whole county, I mean, we're talking,
Yeah.
1,000 employees, and 1% here or 2% there adds up to a lot.
Well, and I think from a fairness issue, I think everybody wants to feel like everybody's playing by the same rules.
That's right.
Yeah, so, okay. Something to really, keep an eye on and keep it in. Okay, so, all right, so number 1 is completed. Number 2, frankly, how are you?
Good morning.
Morning.
We have an agreement in front of you, will be in front of you shortly. It's from the Auditor of State. It's to perform the CAFR process, which is a comprehensive annual financial report. It's a 3-year agreement. It's $30,000 a year, which is a reduction of $3,500 from the last 3 years. It's about a $10,000 savings. And they're asking for us to proceed with that coming up into probably early January.
So they do, what do they do for this? I mean, I've
They
always had
they
a,
prepare our CAFR for us.
and basically all they do is they organize the information into a
They're taking all the
report.
information that we have available to them from the financial standpoint, and they put it into a series of reports that go to the state, and they analyze that, and then they approve that.
Is it necessary to use them, or can we contract? Can they
Well,
do it?
traditionally,
Somebody else
we've
do it?
used them in the past because it's affords us to get, recognition from the state that says that our financials are in order.
But do they do a check of the financials? It's my understanding that they're just creating a report. They take the information we get.
Oh, no, they look at everything. They look
Aren't
at
they,
everything.
aren't they restating it from a cash basis to an accrual
To
basis?
a full
That's
basis
part of what
needed,
they're doing.
needed for us to do that, to meet their requirements.
So there's more value add. It sounds to me like $30,000 is a lot to make a report. And
Well, it's
so-
not just, they're there 6 months. There's 600 hours involved in that.
Yeah, so they're going through what's a cash basis, and they're restating it in an accrual basis, which is generally accepted accounting practice in private industry. Normally on an accrual basis, where a lot of governments, they do their work in a cash basis.
Right. And we've been doing, this is, I think, last year, 3 years ago, you signed it. I have your, Ralph signed it, Blake Greer signed it, you signed it 3 years ago. Which means we have a working relationship with the state auditor, so he can come in and get this capital.
Is it every 3 years?
No, you sign this agreement every 3 years, and
Oh.
the contract is for $30,000 a year for the next 3
It's
years.
done every year.
Okay. So, but every 3 years, we have the right to ask the question, is it still?
Absolutely. Every year you have a right to ask any questions that you want to.
All right, thanks.
The auditor's office is requesting the board approve and execute a letter of understanding with the auditor of the state of Ohio for services to be provided by the local government services section of the Office of the Auditor of State, the Geauga County for basic financial statements and a comprehensive financial report for the years ending December 31st, 2017, December 31st, 2018, and December 31st, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $30,000 per year.
Make that motion? Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spillier?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you,
Good
Frank.
day.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Looks like you put snow fence up this morning.
Yeah, try to keep as much off the blowing off the road. as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, that's bad.
It's not snowing this year.
Well, it's not gonna snow this year?
Yeah.
Very good. We would like that, I think.
Yeah. Saving that salt.
Yeah, would. Item 3 on the agenda is to approve and execute the final change order for the asphalt resurfacing of Clarendon Troy Road to Roniak. Right, revised contract is $644,254. It's actually an increase of $7,500 based on the amount of pavement repairs we actually did once we did the work, and we did some profile milling to get a better project, but still within the realm, way under what's allowable on an over, so.
Okay.
The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute change order number 1, final increasing the contract with Roniak Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Clarendon Troy Road, CH3, sections F through H in Clarendon, Hampton Township, in the amount of $7,404.85.
So move. Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool? Commissioner Spillier?
Right. When's paving season over? Is it still paving?
Some are still
Yeah.
paving,
Yeah. Yeah.
some inspectors, we're not, we're done, we've been done for at least a month now,
Yeah.
but
Once it gets the
temperatures right now are
Yeah.
kind of questionable, so they, depending on what kind of material, most of them are just putting down base right now,
Mhm.
just to try to close things in, so you can run around 45, 50 degrees in temperature, but,
No finish.
no, you're not, you might see some parking lots going in,
Yeah.
because there's nobody really inspecting that asphalt.
Right.
But on the roads,
Right,
there's,
doesn't mean it's not gonna be good.
right, but on the roads, you're not seeing a lot of surface stuff going down, most of the stuff's still going down in.
So the cure time is what's the concern with
The
that?
cure time temperature that it comes out in the truck, putting it down, placement. Usually at this point in time, usually when you go down a paving, like a resurfacing, it feels like the zone is really stretched out.
Yeah.
You know, right now, that zone is really tight because that first breakdown roller is right on the tail of the paver. Because as soon as it hits the ground, it's cooling.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
gotta get it rolled, the next
Compaction.
one. So
Yeah.
the rollers, it's kind of a really tight operation, you know, because if it gets too cold, it'll just break if you over compact it.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So there's certain materials certain binders we can't put down this time of year because they're polymer and they just turn cold and go brittle.
Does concrete have the same effect too?
Concrete, no. The heat of hydration inside, the internal heat of hydration of concrete helps to keep it warm, and then also, but if it's overnight freezing, they protect the outside of it, and that's where you see the blankets going down, or they put in, you know, plasticizers and different additives to combat the temperatures. So.
Okay.
Great.
Item 4, final change order for the asphalt resurfacing of Mulberry Road. This is a reduction of $21,000 from the original contract based on the actual amount of pavement repairs we needed once we build off the surface. Most of the issues were in the surface, we didn't have to do the repairs, so it saved us some money, so.
The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute change order number 1, final decreasing the contract with Roniak Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Mulberry Road, CH 39, sections A through D in Chardon Township, in the amount of $21,822.96.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
And item 5 is requesting the board authorize Mr. Claypool to sign the final disbursement for the Mulberry Road project from state funds in the amount of $91,206.74. That will close the amount of money we'll receive from OPWC.
The county engineer's office is requesting the board approve and authorize Walter M. Claypool, board member and chief executive officer, to execute the Ohio Public Works Commission Appendix E disbursement request for certification number 2, final, in order to release funds from the state portion of our OPWC grant for the asphalt resurfacing of Mulberry Road, CH 39, sections A through D in Chester Township.
Make that motion. Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spillier?
And I have to comment while you're here. I've sat through the OPWC meetings. Those are so slick the way that they work. I saw my first conflict when Mentor spoke up and they had a little bit of an issue, but it got easily resolved, relatively easily. I mean, with the board and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if NOACA worked that way, we'd have a whole lot better approach on things. But I'm really impressed with OPWC, and you guys kind of lead that conversation. Everything is done professionally. It's really worthwhile.
There's no administrative costs.
There's no administrative cost. Everybody plays nice together.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all those counties sitting there at the table, and there's some banter and some friendly jiving, and you know, whatever the case is. It's a mixed group of folks from various counties. But you know, it's kind of impressive to watch something work in government, and that seems to work. So anyway,
I'll pass that on.
you can pass that compliment back to
Will.
Joe and to
Shane.
Shane, right? Yeah, he does a nice job of
He does.
kind of orchestrating and keeping the kittens all in the box and all that kind of stuff, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good one.
I'm coming, the next one for Jessica, she had a meeting, conflict. They have a great young lady who works for them, Magali Rios. She is looking for up to 40 hours unpaid leave because she's going home to Mexico to have Christmas with her family.
All right.
Nice thing.
Do we know where in Mexico?
It doesn't give a city.
Something interesting.
The Department on Aging is requesting the board approve an unpaid personal leave of absence for Magali Rios, Recreation and Education Assistant, for 40 hours from December 26, 2017 through January 11, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Okay.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
That was just you.
Okay.
This is just one of the projects under the allocation grant, Quantis Lake Community Center. We contracted to have the floor replaced, and when they picked up the floor, they found that the sap ran underneath had all crumbled, which they weren't anticipating. So apparently some moisture got in there, so they have to re-sap ran the area to level it out. So that's what the change orders for.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute change order number 1, increasing the contract with Geauga Building Company for the Quantis Lake Community Center project under grant VF 16181 due to a change in the scope of work in the amount of $832.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Commissioner Warren?
Yes.
Commissioner Clayton? Commissioner Spillier?
Hi.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So you see, when Kelly doesn't come in, it takes two of us to
people.
replace her.
Yeah.
She does so much. She's not feeling well today.
But then we'd miss both of you.
I know, so we knew you wanted to see her.
There's a lot on there. Of all of them.
This is, Kelly's kept you informed on this project for Longton Louis de Jesus with Third Dimension. This is over by Berkshire Industrial Park, the old shade tree building.
Yep.
Yeah, he's gonna add off the back 11,000 square foot and to add some more equipment, mostly warehousing equipment, which is what we'll,
What do those guys do?
they do specialized packing. They do a lot for craft made, but they have really streamlined the process so that they can move more product more efficiently in the semis, so they can get more product in.
I see.
And he's developed a really nice new product that Craft Rate's really excited
Where
about.
were they?
He also had, well, he's in Geneva
Oh.
as well, but he's got the old Carlisle Geauga Industries building across from Geauga Industrial Park.
Yeah.
So he's got that building to capacity. And this one, he actually, his business is doing really good. He's probably gonna have to expand again. But he'll add another spot. So
So there's room there to do that?
he's fine being split around. It works well with the way the products that he's developing, they're all sort of logically in the area. So he likes to stay on a main route like 87 or, 422 or 528. That's really important to how he moves
Have they
things.
engaged with us at all as far as us helping them in that search?
We've
Yeah.
helped, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
talked to him.
Yeah.
He's looks like he's narrowing in on where he's going.
Okay.
And it needs to be in that proximity of Burton, Middlefield, that's his home
Mhm.
base. Looks like he can't even expand more where he is in Geneva. He's pretty much grown to capacity. It's like a rabbit warren of different buildings. If you ever, it's off of Eagle Street, it's a weird combination of buildings. So it works much better for him in Burton, plus he's closer to Craft Made and the other
Right.
businesses there that he palletizes for us. Yeah, it's a nice operation. He runs it very well.
So this packaging is a cardboard, like boxing packing, or?
Yeah, and wood, and really a lot of innovation in it. It's, and plus we're getting him one of those high lifts.
Right.
Yeah. And, but he developed this new way of packing things, that I guess it's less damage and more efficiency in packing, so that's the best I can
He
do.
probably, those trailers, there's probably not a lot of density with the shipping, so with a high cube trailer, he can get it
He can
stacked up to the top.
absolutely occupy every space
Yeah.
available
That's
and
great.
still maintain quality of
Has he
product.
ever been in, have you ever recognized him in your salute to business?
Not yet. The one glitch is that the Geneva component is more his corporate headquarters sort of a thing, though he's a great taxpayer and employer in the county, so,
Nice, good story.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. So it's, well, I'll let you read it.
I don't know if there was anything.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, also, well, the one part that you don't have in front of you that we'll come back for is the CRA, that he's also getting an abatement on the 11,000 square foot he's adding. But that's gonna be a separate thing other than this. What we're talking about right now is just the loan. And he'll create 4 jobs with it. He's got 2 there right now. We'll add 4 more for this project.
Have we loaned to him in the past?
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm. When he went into Carlisle, Geauga, we helped him with some equipment there as well. Good payer.
Yep. Great. Yeah, it's good to see that building being repurposed, you know.
Yeah,
It's
it's
sitting
quick.
empty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Both
went pretty
buildings, that-
quick.
Yeah.
Carlisle Geauga building, that's a big.
That was a
complex.
scary one.
Yeah.
When he said he was gonna go in there, we're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Because of,
Environmental.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of companies don't even wanna touch it, even when it says EPA, well, who believes the EPA?
Yeah.
But they say, yeah, it's, you know, it's clear, but,
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
so, but he did, and
Good.
they did, so it worked out well.
Good.
Yeah, that whole area over there seems to be having some nice business activity.
Oh, Berkshire, the Berkshire Industrial Park area, yeah, with Great Lakes Growers,
Mhm.
he's expanding again, and EEI, pretty much all
Oh, yeah.
totally moved in.
Yeah, nice. They're the ones that
Yeah.
were in Newberry that built especially antennas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should have open house soon, now that they're, feel more comfortable in their space, so.
That
Let
one
you know
area
as
is so
soon as you-
business friendly, you know, that's
And you got
really a model for how you
87.
do it, yeah.
Yeah, a good access.
That is a fascinating business at EEI.
I know.
You took me on a tour over there, and
They're the nicest guys.
the
too.
amount, the welding of those tall towers with the precision they have to do is really pretty phenomenal.
And then, you know, they're, that thickness like that of steel that they're welding, I mean, the weld, yeah, I mean, it's not, you know, like at home, you have to have a real skill to bring those two pieces together, so.
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna ask for a job over there, but they wouldn't like my welding.
They make fun, boy, you wanna be a good welder,
Oh,
because they're
can't be a
brutal.
girly welder.
That's a real art.
Yeah.
Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and execute the legal binding documents for the revolving loan fund loan to 15332 Old State Road Properties LLC, Third Dimensions Incorporated, for the expansion of building located at 15141 Kinston Road, Burton, and purchase of machinery and equipment in the amount of $100,000 for 5 years at 3% interest, including mortgage participation agreement, promissory note, corporate guarantee of 15332 Old State Road Property LLC, corporate guarantee of Third Dimensions Incorporated, personal guarantee of Louis DeJesus, and personal guarantee of Janet DeJesus.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Claypool?
Great.
Thank
And
you,
you
have a good day.
I have one other question for you. I didn't know whether you got a chance to do any more homework on that discussion we had with Craig.
Yeah, he has a
So-
38-page contract. There's issues with that contract, so, there's a lot of issues with that contract.
Okay.
So we need
Well, let's
to
just talk. I mean, I'd like to hear what you discovered, because,
Yeah, I'll
you know, I've
send
gotta get
over,
back to
I
the
marked
board
it
there.
up, and Laura's
so-
like, don't even give me anything yet. She's a little behind, or occupied, so I'll share the markup.
So if there, I mean, there's issue, I'm gonna go back to the board meeting, and I have to take that feedback or whatever back to the board, so.
What are we
It's
talking
that
about?
the
The
BRN.
BRN thing, so we sat down with Craig,
$20,000 grant.
which made it sound like it would be more,
I-
easier to do, but if it's not,
He's gotta
then-
change that contract.
So-
It's way out of line, way out of line.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been pressed by the
When
Ohio
you see what we
State,
marked
so.
up on it, you decide too. I
Okay.
think it's pretty clear.
Well, I can always take that
Yeah,
feedback back to the
if
board, because
he
they,
lets us draw the contract up,
we gotta
I'm
figure
there.
out what the heck we're gonna do then.
yeah. If he won't get around that contract, it gives him the right to every piece of document we have in our office.
Okay. Well, that's good feedback.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lena.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm better.
Good.
Last week I was a wreck. I'm better this week. I'm done moving and I only have 3 boxes left in my office to sort through.
Excellent.
I still can't find anything, but I only have 3 boxes left. That's a major accomplishment. Okay, this is just to simply hire a man, for 3 days a week. He's gonna work first and third shift. He's retired and this is just something a little extra income. He's a good man. I worked with him years ago, so I trust him, to be able to do this.
What's he doing?
Just being a part-time attendant.
Mm-hmm.
supplement his retirement.
But you have some other people that are no longer, or your schedule's kind of jumped around, and you've lost a couple of people.
Just one
Just
part-time,
one part-time,
That was
okay.
quite a while ago, we just kind
Yeah.
of, we did okay without filling it for the summer, but now we need it again.
Yeah.
And then I do have an upcoming, remember last week I came and told you I had to remove somebody, so yeah, there's gonna be an opening coming up.
Next step's working out okay? They're all in?
Yeah, it was hard at first. It's hard to switch over from being friends to, this is a business,
Mm.
you know, it was different, but, you know, we're fine now. We really are. Nice kids too. Better than some that have been through that program, especially when they were in my building, you know, so they're good, they really are. I don't think we need to worry.
Not worried at all?
The county home is requesting the board approve hiring Guy North for the position of part-time attendant number 1804. -1 to be effective December 4, 2017 at the rate of $11.58 per hour with a 1-year probationary period. This offer of employment is contingent upon the successful completion of the required pre-employment positions.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Good day.
You too.
And then Dave, this is that memorandum for clerk of courts to,
Yes. Where the law allows for her to transfer money, if the board, commissioners, and the clerk of courts agrees that there's money that's excess to their needs. So in this case, particular, there's $4,000 that falls in that category. So in order to make that transfer, if you guys agree to sign that, then I'll take it over and have her sign off. I just got this language.
This is for the salaries?
Well, it's to go in the general fund to offset that. It's not a direct transfer for that, but general fund provides a contingency. In this
I didn't see the, what are we talking dollars?
4,000.
Okay. Okay.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the memorandum of agreement for transfer of funds as authorized under RC 325.33 between the Geauga County Clerk of Courts and the Geauga County Board of Commissioners.
And just to be clear, this is not a one-time thing. This is a 4,000 ongoing liability.
No, this is a
Is it a
one-time
one-time
thing.
thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
For-
I thought
for
this
now.
was for a pay increase, yeah.
Well, it's going into the general fund. It's not transferred into that account. It's just reimbursing the general fund for money the general fund is transferring into her account to accomplish that.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
Have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spillier?
Okay. I don't know, Linda, if you want to, this is for the board to approve the revised job description for planning. Linda's been doing all the legwork on this.
You guys had asked that we beef up that position, and we have. And so we just need to have you approve it, and then it's my understanding that we will be advertising this again. This is the one under community development.
So there's more responsibilities, more education, experience requirements, and the job rates goes from 10E to 13.
We wanted somebody who would have the chops to move up if necessary, so.
Okay. Did you talk to Dave at all? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it necessary, if we have an internal person, do we have to post that?
Well, it has to be, you can only do internal within our hiring authority. We have one person that works for the county in another department that may be interested in the job. We don't know that for sure yet.
yes.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve the revised job description for the position of planner number 1406 to be effective November 28, 2017. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board grant permission to advertise for the position of planner number 1406. This position will remain posted until filled.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spillier?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the only thing, Linda, on that is as far as the interviews for that, let's establish who is going to be involved in those interviews now.
How would you like to do that, Commissioner?
I think that Dave Dietrich obviously ought to be involved. I think it should be Dave Dietrich, you, and Dave Blair. And if you feel that Anita should be involved, it's, your call, but I think that the three of you, for sure.
And I think from somebody from the planning board, since they're gonna be serving with the planning commission, somebody from the planning commission should be involved, whether it's Charlie Stevens or otherwise. So, it's gonna be an employee of the board, and not our employee, I don't think, unless we've decided something differently, so.
This position is still in community
Yeah.
development, not under planning.
So this is a position that's gonna be provided through MOU?
Yep.
Or what is
Ultimately.
what's the
Ultimately, yes.
objective of that?
Yeah.
Until you guys decide if you're going to consolidate those
So,
functions.
either way, if this person is gonna be working for the board, for the planning commission, either through an MOU or otherwise, they should probably be involved with the interview process.
You don't feel that Dave Dietrich is enough of a representative of that function for the purposes of the hire?
He works for the board. The board's responsible for that function.
Well, we work for you, but we don't ask you to sit in on all the interviews we do. I don't know what you're trying to get to, Commissioner.
I mean, I'd feel comfortable with you, Dave, and Dave.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I mean, it's gonna be a board decision. I'm gonna have one out, but I mean, the planning commission ultimately will have to approve the MOU. And I'm anticipating there could be an issue if the person hired isn't comfortable with the planning commission. And so, the board can do as it wants to do, but ultimately, the planning commission is gonna need to accept, and that's not Dave Dietrich. Dave Dietrich is an employee.
Yeah, they're gonna vote on the
planning
MOU.
commission. That's right. And so, I'm just suggesting that the planning commission be involved. I don't see any harm in Charlie Stevens or one other person from the planning commission being involved. I'm just gonna throw that out there, so.
Well, let's get some good, hopefully get some good candidates in here to
Yeah.
interview.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, the check is available.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, number 13 is the Commissioner's Office is requesting the board discuss upcoming meeting dates and times.
Yes, I have posted a email to all of you regarding the scheduling of a work session to go over reorg type items. I posed either the 5th of December or the 28th. With the change in the law regarding the date of when your reorganization meeting has to be held, gives you the opportunity to do it on the first meeting, which would be January 4th, due to the holiday, which is a Thursday, or it still is required to be held by the second Monday of the month. Well, the holiday falls on the first Monday, so that means that you can either do it on Thursday the 4th, or you could still hold your meeting on Monday the 8th and do your reorg then, but then you wouldn't have another meeting again until the following Thursday because of the next holiday being the following week on Monday. So,
Damn holidays.
Yeah.
so I didn't know if you could do your reorg on Thursday the 4th, or you could do and then just do a regular meeting on the 9th on Tuesday, and then so that it would be Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday instead of a Thursday, Monday, Thursday, and so those are some of the things that we need to talk about. So I'm asking if you are willing to schedule a work session on Tuesday, December 5th. Commissioner London expressed doing it sooner rather than later. And it would just be then to discuss your reorganizational items for 2018, and it would be following your regular session on December 5th.
I'm okay with that.
So do I have a motion?
So move. Second, so December.
Commissioner London?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Okay. And then Dave had approached me about the change with the planning commission meeting moving from the 12th to the 14th of December, because all of you will be at winter conference and your regular meeting has been moved to that date. They are requesting additional time for that meeting, which starts at 7:30. So they're asking if you are willing to push back the start time of your meeting from 9 to 10, which then means we have to then push back the work session with Bowen at 10:30 to maybe 11, or just not have one in December at all. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
and
that's,
and the extra time they're looking for is so that the planning commission members we can all spend about an hour talking out this whole issue with the staffing and the MOUs on it, get everybody on the same page. if you just have an hour for that purpose, you can probably get that done.
Okay, what day is that, I'm sorry?
So that would be
Thursday, the
Thursday,
14th.
December 14th. So it would be to request to move the start of the Thursday, December 14th, 2017 meeting back to begin at 10 o'clock a.m.
So the planning commission will be Thursday morning?
Yes,
Okay.
it will be that 14th. It'll start at 7:30, but they're asking for additional time. And with your meeting starting at 9, we're just asking you to move back your regular meeting from 9 to 10 to give you that extra time for the planning commission meeting.
Yeah, it looked, I mean, it works for me.
Fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm more confused as the date we're talking about.
Why don't we try to push Bowen
14th of
off
December?
for,
Yeah, Thursday.
till after
We have a little bit of
January.
time on that one,
Yeah.
because we have
Yeah.
Bowen at
And I'm not
10:30
sure.
today.
Oh, because we're going to
I-
the
Yeah,
conference.
you're
I think
coming
we
back
should
from your
ask
conference
them
on Tuesday.
when
Right.
we're in that meeting today,
So all
what
we're
they
saying
wanna
is to
do,
give
and
the planning
depending on what we
commission
are,
more
we
time
can put it
Thursday
on
morning.
Tuesday the
That's
5th.
fine.
Push your meeting back to
That
10
decision,
o'clock.
but,
Give guys more time over the
Because
plan.
we've got a feasibility study that day, we
And
got
that
the
has to be pushed
CIC.
back. And we have
So
the CIC.
everything gets rolled back.
There's a lot that day, because
right.
we have planning, we'll have your meeting, and then we would have Bowen, and then we have the lunch at noon, CIC, and then we have a public viewing in Parkman
Oh my
at 3
gosh.
o'clock that
Come on.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
heavy lifted, yeah.
You approved that last week while I was on vacation. We were under a very time crunch on the timing of the proposed vacation in Parkman Township.
That these vacations by law all follow this certain timeline schedule. She
You
has to
have,
figure
you
that out.
have a time frame of 45 days from the date that that petition is received in our office, which was the 14th of November, to hold your public hearing. And because we feel that there could be some contention with the property owners, we are having a viewing before the hearing, just to make sure that there is no issue. It's an option, and we have chosen to go with that at the recommendation from the engineer's office. And then you have 60 days to make a decision.
So we're gonna be
And
viewing
that-
an area where there's no road, so.
And with
if,
Thanksgiving,
yeah.
Christmas, and New Year's Day,
That's how it works.
we have until January 8th. And so that means the 4th of January or the 28th of December as my meetings, unless we hold reorg
Wow.
on the 8th. So that's where my cushion is, and Laura wanted a little bit of wiggle room in case we had to have another hearing before you make your final decision. So that day unfortunately is a really crazy day on the 14th.
So we're gonna be walking in an area where there's no road, so if any commissioners have some alternative.
What do we gotta look at, just looking at, just, the no road, I mean, just the road?
You gotta see the right of way that's gonna be vacant.
Doty Road ends, Doty Road exists, it's Doty and also, so Doty actually has houses on it, but then
Oh.
it stops. But then there's this unnamed, non-numbered road that was never built, and it runs from Doty, and actually they found that it actually goes north from that, and that was changed when they did the resolution that you guys passed last week, so the turn had changed. So it goes from north above Doty, and then it goes all the way to the Portage County line, across all of those parcels. And if you kind of look at the map, it almost looks like it followed the power lines that run that way, but it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, and then it like flips. So I don't know, but you can kind of see on the GIS where that kind of unnamed road kind of goes. But, so that's what they're looking to vacate. All of that, the entire length of that non-named, non-numbered road, plus where Doty stops to the already pre-vacated portion down farther. So,
If this isn't done, there could be some action taken to compel the township to create this road.
Oh,
That's why, if you're not ever gonna do anything with it, you should vacate it, so you don't have that hanging over your head, as I understand it.
yes. So right now, I'm just asking if the motion is to then move the start of your Thursday, December 14th meeting back to begin at 10 o'clock.
okay,
If you're okay with that.
I'm okay with that, so.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
So,
Will you put this all on paper if you want?
yes, I will update that list, and I will get that out to you guys today. I know there's a lot upcoming, and you'll get a lot of Christmas invitations, so those are already starting to come in, so we'll
Too busy.
try and get you updated as best we can, as soon as we can. So, do we have a motion then?
So,
Commissioner London?
yes.
Commissioner Claypool? Commissioner Spudler? Okay. So then I will, wait then till we meet with Bowen today to decide whether we need to hold that meeting on the 14th, or if we need to change the time, we can do that next week.
Yeah.
So, I have the Thrasher.
Yeah, we're meeting with
form.
Bowen today, I mean, maybe you just move Bowen from 13 to 8, just because.
Or
Right.
like
Run out of
Ralph was
time.
saying, or hold off until January or something
mean run out
like
of
that,
time,
because of the
that's
holiday and
Thursday.
stuff, so.
Yeah.
I have that addition, if you wanna do that before you do the next one.
Oh,
In
yeah.
case you're interested in doing the Thrasher anymore.
This is the waiver form that was requested by Bradley for Dolan because of the theoretical conflict of interest between the county and represented by the prosecutor in an action against a series of banks, and the fact that Thrasher and Dolan happens to represent one of those banks. But, we've engaged them to represent the board in discussions with the airport authority, and there's no real conflict between those two things. But given that they serve with two clients, they want something in writing that you're okay with.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
So, do I have a motion? The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board approve and execute the informed consent of conflict of interest with Thrasher Dinsmore.
I will make that motion. Second.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner Claypool?
Yep.
Commissioner Spudler? Okay. And then that is all I have on my end. You can go forward with number 14.
Number 14, so you've each gotten a copy of this draft chain of command policy. In this regards, it basically states what the chain of command is in the county government under your hiring authority. And it gets into some specifics. It's very detailed, but it's kind of like, this is the most detailed way of handling this and doing the policy. But there could be some unintended consequences if you adopt this as is. So I gave you each this morning kind of like the polar opposite alternative, which is simply for the board to consider executing a letter that kind of states this is the board's position on chain of command and how a board works. I guess between the full-blown policy change that has all this detail and something a lot more informal, there's areas in between, and so just open it up to you folks to comment on that and let us know what your preference might be.
I guess I could start off by simply stating that we do need some form of a policy. I think that, I do see that the way that the other one is, the policy created could raise some questions or concerns. If it was a situation to start out based on a letter similar to what Butler County Board of Commissioners specifically stating what, basically conduct and operational position of the Board of County Commissioners, and what really the move forward should be of us handling situations both in-house and as far as implementing our authority in different areas of our other people within our hiring authority, and to be able to bring us together as a board rather than three individual ideas, three individual mindsets of how we're to handle things. And I think that it's important that moving forward that we have some form of unity in our thought process and what the goals should be, agreed upon or disagreed upon between the board, and then move forward as such. That's the easiest way I could say it.
I would agree, Ralph, with what you just said in terms of, when I received this letter, it caused a number of questions like, what are we trying to solve? And as I talked to Dave, it seemed to me that the root cause, the cause for the policy letter was just a lack of us being together. The challenges would most easily be solved by us just being on the same page. I mean, each of us goes through our daily routine to do the best that we can to represent the citizens of our county, and we do it in the way that we can, or the best way that we know how to do. And we have certain core responsibilities that aren't even contemplated in this letter. You know, the NACOG board, which I had a conversation with Anita about, I got a responsibility to the NACOG board. I have responsibilities to ensure that if there's an opportunity for our county, crosses over and overlaps, that we understand that she understands that if there's a way to make it come together, that we are able to do that. So that's, you know, our practice.
And I would respond to that before you move on, that I agree you have a responsibility to the NACOG board, but the board has a responsibility to our staff and their time. So, you know, if we have not expressed interest as a board, or if we do express interest as a board, but that needs to be a board decision to delegate their continued work and time and effort focused on that, or do we focus back on something else, you know? So that's all. I think that's the way I read both of these.
And let me kind of throw out there, part of the reason for the timing of even bringing this up is, you know, we're on the verge of kind of turnover in culture and staff and everything. So, you know, we have a number of directors in my position where, you know, we're at some point going to be moving on to retirement or whatever else we're going to do. So you're going to be attracting new talent to serve the board. And over time, you're going to have other commissioners coming on the board. I think it would be helpful to have something where either a new employee, new manager, new commissioner, they can kind of see something that says, okay, this is how this works. Because, you know, we've all been here for a while, so we kind of understand it. But I thought it was a responsibility while we're all here to maybe leave some kind of legacy in terms of organizational structure for the next administrator or next commissioner, however we do that.
And I think the other thing is being clear too is that, you know, the employees here in this office are employees of the board. We have a county administrator that manages this office. And we have, you know, vested and trusted in the county administrator to handle those type of things. I think for one commissioner to act or to think that these employees are employees directly related to one commissioner and instructing them to take certain actions without the rest of the board being aware of it or not consenting in it, I think that's what I'm reading here, is to try and say, look, if we're gonna spend time and resources above, you know, just general asking for information and spending a whole bunch of time getting people, you know, investing hours and hours and hours, this needs to be a board decision, not an individual commissioner coming up with these actions, so.
And I think to add to what Tim is saying also, is that based on like the NACOG, I mean, that's your area of responsibility. We all agreed upon in our reorg to assign that responsibility to you know, Skip for that, you know, part. So it's that's a situation where, you know, that's not something that we need to necessarily, that is an assigned responsibility and board that you're put on. I think that it's just a situation where I think that we need some the biggest thing I could say is direction and unity is what we need to be able to have, and organized in an organized fashion. And I think that you know, moving into 2018, we got a lot of this office is going to be faced with a lot of challenges and tasks between feasibility studies, between you know, the change of a number of personnel potentials of people retiring. There's going to be a lot of and we need to be the best that we can be, the strongest that we can be, and the only way that you're going to do that is by having a good plan, and a plan of togetherness, and a plan that everybody agrees and understands to move forward, not what somebody just thinks that day.
And so if I could have the courtesy of being able to complete a thought. So, you know, each of us, this is changing a practice within the office. And I can tell you, and Dave, you know this to be true, there is nothing that I do that I don't tell you about so that it can be shared with the other two commissioners. There is at no time, ever, a conversation that I have with any of our staff or anybody That when I don't say, I'm one of 3 commissioners, this is not my decision, here's my opinion, here's my thought, I'd like to get your opinion. The same thing applied with knockout. The intent, and I'll use that as an example, a meeting with Anita is, first of all, to discover, before I waste the board's time, what is the reality, get her opinion on it, get her thoughts on it, make sure that she understands clearly what the opportunity is, so that we can jointly come to the board and say, does this make sense, does it not make sense? That's been the practice of this board since I've been here. If we want to change the practice, that's fine, understand the implications of changing the practice. When Tim is out meeting with JFS, I don't hear any feedback on that. Tim is out running and having communications with whoever he's having communications with, Glenn Vernick and Greg Swenson and all that kind of stuff. That's fine, because he's doing his job. He's doing discovery. He's understanding what the core of the situation is, understanding that at some point in time that decision will need to come back to the board. That's the same operating practice that I have. When Ralph is meeting with Dave Dietrich of the Planning Commission to discover whatever it is that he's discovering, I have no insight in that. We're not getting feedback on that. He has every right to do that. None of us commissioners can interfere with any of the other commissioners in terms of us seeking information and trying to understand what's going on and so on and so forth. To Ralph's point, and I agree 100%, the best way for us to operate as a board, and we are better at this than other times, is for us to unify, have very open, honest communications, fight it out, because we're going to agree and disagree on stuff, and then at the end of that discussion, make a decision and move on. And sometimes we're going to win, sometimes we're going to lose the argument, like I lost the argument this morning, including the Planning Commission. Okay, fine. I mean, it's not personal, this is business at the end of the day. And so creating a unified board, and we have the best, most competent board, well, I hesitate to say that. We have a very good board. Historically, this is one of the best boards that I have seen. We have the most opportunity. But guess what? We got 3 strong egos at this table, okay? And with that comes some challenges and some strife, okay? So if we want to change the practice, that's fine. I'd love, having that conversation. I don't know exactly what I would change in my practice, because I do discovery, and I probably won't stop doing that, because it's the only way I can make good decisions, is to continue to do discovery, get the facts. Preparing for today's meeting and this policy, I'm not smart enough to know all the answers, and I know that. I reached out to 4 attorney friends of mine, 2 of whom I wanted to actually engage. There's a complication because the prosecutor represents the board, and so me engaging them would have required, in one case, the gentleman said that he wanted to go through an approval process, and we didn't have time for that. Not that I wouldn't have wanted to do that, but they still gave me feedback. There were concerns that I would express today. I don't want to get into that right now, because I prefer to go with a discussion. Let's figure out what the issues are. If there's an issue, I need to correct my behavior, or we need to correct an office practice or something, fine, let's get that on the table and talk about it. If we need to communicate to people through a communication such as this, what the general operating practice is going to be, because we're changing that. We've always been free to go off and talk to whomever we want to talk to. If we want to agree together that we're going to change that practice, that we're going to operate through Dave, or we're going to operate in a different way, I'm fine with that. Let's get that on the table, let's talk about it.
And so, I agree 100% with everything you just said. I don't think anyone's questioning the ability of any one commissioner going out and doing discovery. I mean, that is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the usefulness of the Board of Commissioners staff and the employees underneath the commissioners in the use, the time spent on, say, an individual's commissioner's requests, okay? I don't know a perfect example to use as that, but and I don't want to name names because I'm not trying to pick on one commissioner or the other, but what I'm trying to say is if it's going to be time-consuming for the staff of the commissioner's office, and it's going to take more than just finding some general information, it needs to be a board decision to allocate those time and resources of our staff, because they're going to eventually be being pulled off of something they're supposed to be working on into helping you with, or whoever, with that discovery. I think that's the gist of this, is saying, we need to be more efficient as an office with our time, not
But-
just.
And I would agree, and I
I'm
would
still-
agree with that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I can give multiple examples, I don't wanna, like you put a spot on the
I mean,
spot.
if you want me to
Because
start,
we've
I don't want to turn this into, like, I'm gonna start drilling down on and pick, I'm just saying, let's just agree that going forward, I think, to be useful with that time, it needs to be a little more conscientious of submitting it through Dave, which I know we always do, but it needs to come back to the board. Do we want to continue, like on this NOCCOG thing, do we want to continue to talk to Anita about it, I mean, I know you want to continue, but as a board, it seems like there's not a whole lot of interest there, so,
Well, two
let's
things.
talk about it right now. Should we
Sure.
continue, should we continue to search that out or not? Because,
Let me use that to make a point.
I mean, I thought we were pretty clear before that there wasn't a whole, when we were talking to Kelly before, that there wasn't a whole lot of interest there, to search out that $20,000 or $15,000, whatever it is. There was too much work involved for that grant, let's move on to something else.
Let me use that
Yeah.
to make a point. I mean, this is a good conversation, so, and we'll use this NOCCOG, and first of all, I have responsibility on NOCCOG. They have things that they're trying to accomplish in our county, and they're gonna use that money to accomplish some things, or to try and accomplish some things, which would be perfect, if from my perspective, fit perfectly with what we're trying to accomplish relative to business development, economic development, okay? The challenge that hang on, let me finish.
Because you said something exactly to your understanding or your knowledge. I thought that we pretty much made a decision that we were gonna scrap that whole idea, but then again, here it goes, it's regurgitating. If we decided we were gonna scrap it, then we should have scrapped it.
There was no discussion
Right.
or decision to scrap it. Let me finish a point here, Ralph. And that is, if we're gonna make decisions to scrap it, and I'm okay with that, then let's do it based on some good information. The problem is, we were just making the decision to scrap it based on a misconception. And I still think there might be a misunderstanding. So as long as we're clear on, and the facts are clear, and that was the only reason for meeting with Anita and continuing this, because there was some disconnect from what I was hearing on the board that I was sitting on, and what Anita was understanding.
But see, I don't think you're being cognizant of what we just said. You may not be clear, but Ralph and I were pretty clear. You know what I'm saying? So, but just because you're not clear, you want to continue, like you said, I don't want to duke this out or.
Tim, we
make
never
this-
had a meeting on it.
Well, no, we
passed
were in
a
executive
resolution.
session. No,
We
we
can't
didn't have.
talk about that in executive
Yeah.
session, Tim. We
Yeah.
can't make a decision in
No, we didn't
executive
make a
session.
decision. We didn't make a decision, but I think that what I was saying is, it was pretty clear that there was no interest there. We were hearing from economic development that this was gonna be too time consuming for them to continue. I mean, you're more than welcome to go off on your own and discover that, but what I'm saying is, we cannot continue to waste people's time on things that this board, as a board, is interested in going after. That's what this is about. This isn't about you going out and doing research, or you can do that that's what we all do, in dealing with that, but it's being efficient when you're pulling somebody off task. That's what this is about, is trying to say, let's be efficient. We only have so many employees in this office. Let's be efficient with their time, and it should be board-driven decisions, not individual. And I think if we can't understand that or agree to that, then I must be speaking another language, because, this is very simple. I don't think there should even be there's not much of a discussion to be had here, as far as I'm concerned. This should be common practice. We shouldn't even need to have to write it down, but it seems like we might have to here for some reason.
Well, we don't have a
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
we don't have a process for bringing this to the board to make a decision. A decision is made when we all have the facts, we put them on the table, and we say, we move to do this or not do this. We've not done that. We had opinion, we had nuance, we
All
had,
right.
side room discussions, and all I'm saying, Tim, all I'm saying here is, if we're gonna have this, okay, fine, but none of us are bringing what we're working on to this table for discussion. We've had loose conversations about JFS and building a facility for the kids, which I tend to agree with, but we've not put the facts on the table and come to a conclusion. Do we spend our time on this? How much time do we spend on this?
Right.
We've had some conversations about reorganizing the planning commission. We each have a different thought. We've not brought that into this room and had a conversation about that and said, okay, this is the direction we're going to go. And all I'm saying is, look, if you're gonna hold this situation accountable, everybody's situation needs to be on the table.
Right.
We all need to play by the same rules.
Yeah,
You
and I
can't
don't
put- you
wanna
can't set-
beat up on
You
one-
can't set up a set of.
I'm not trying
set
to
of
beat
rules
up
for
on
everybody,
this
so.
particular subject, and that, it isn't about one particular subject, that's what I'm trying to say. That's why I didn't want to get into picking on one or the other. It's not about that, and it's not about not doing your homework and continuing that. It's about, if you get one employee, and I'll, just pick one that is in our office, and asking them to go off and do certain tasks that you have decided you feel is important, not the board, that's what this is about. This isn't about that, anything else. This isn't about you going and doing your research and meeting with JFS and meeting with all these things. That's not what this is about. This is about trying to be cognizant of people's time. And I think that's where this is, we've been approached by our office with this. I didn't come up with this, but I'm hearing what they're telling me, and they're saying that they feel like, their time sometimes is being misused, and maybe not on things that the board has decided on. I think that's what I'm hearing. I don't know, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm hearing.
No, I mean, everybody's concerned with time, and everybody has, at least in this office, their day is fully engaged with work they've planned to do. And, when anybody comes in and they have something they feel passionate about and want to work on, human nature may be, hey, can you help me with this? And people want to be helpful, so they stop what they're doing and they go work on something else. But then you can judge by the piles that grow on people's desks that, okay, but there's stuff now that isn't getting done. So you have to make a decision, do we need to staff up to be able to follow all these things, or do we just have to introduce a process where the board can prioritize? We only have so many hours in a day, what are we going to spend on it?
That's right.
all.
And I'm good with the change. I mean, we have had an operating practice in a certain way, and we've been all operating under that operating practice. It's pretty loose up until this point.
Right.
I asked Christie to schedule my calendar, and I asked her if she could do that.
Well, she's not going to say no, though.
But she could. And so if that is a problem, then just tell me. And so it's not been a problem. She's been doing it for 3 years. If it's a problem, and I mentioned to her the other day, Christie, is this a problem? Because
This didn't come from her, by the way.
No, I understand. I'm using this as an example.
I'm looking out for other people's time.
Right.
So this is not
I
in
got
any
it.
way initiated by Christie.
And I think, yeah. go
But I
ahead.
mean, I'm sensitive to this, and like everybody in this room, there isn't one commissioner at this table who doesn't want the right things to happen. And all of us, I believe, Ralph just said it, want a unified board. I want a unified board. So let's find a way. We don't need this policy, unfortunately, and I won't go into a lot of the details of what I heard from various people in terms of its shortcomings. But the biggest shortcoming is that it puts our employees in the middle. And that's my biggest challenge. My biggest challenge is we're asking employees to make decisions when we have the opportunity to put them into a challenging situation. We shouldn't be doing that to our employees. Okay, that compounds this situation. And so we shouldn't be doing that. And so I'm going to suggest to you that we're adults, we can figure this out. Let's talk about what it would take to change the operating practice, if you will, because we've been operating under a certain way. And I'm open-minded to talking about that. And if I need to change behavior, or if any of us need to change it, I mean, all of us are out doing things.
All of us can improve.
And so, that's right, every one of us. I mean, I can point to numerous examples I'm not going to get into of, people off. And God bless you, we've got 3 active commissioners.
That's not the point. That's not the point of 3 commissioners out doing this. That's what, you're supposed to be out doing this. That's not what, I think you're blurring, you're not, I don't know if you're hearing what.
I came across an interesting quote.
Yeah.
I'm a small-time shareholder in a little company called Exxon, which I believe is the largest corporation in the world.
Yeah.
And one of the directors, one that sits on the Exxon board, is a CEO in some other company. And her motto is, noses in, fingers off. In other words, I know what's going on,
That's right.
but I'm not in there,
And
pushing
there's a
buttons
difference.
individually. That's not my role. I'm the strategic person.
Right, and I think it is, I'm new to this. I haven't been on a bunch of boards in my lifetime, but there is a practice and a process to a board and how a board operates. This is we are 3 individuals, and we have 3 different lives, and we have 3 different probably books on that life, and so on and so on. But at the end of the day, the employees work for the board and report to the board. Dave is our county administrator. He is our trusted manager of that office, so I believe if we are gonna circumvent that, we don't need to pay Dave anymore. We can tell Dave to go home, you know what I mean? We
Go home and take a
can
nap.
run the show, but.
Well, there's different
yeah.
ways that boards
Yeah.
operate.
Yeah, well-
Don't,
Yeah,
Tim,
yeah.
I've sat on various boards, and so.
Okay,
Boards
let's
operate,
hear it.
boards operate in different
That's-
ways.
yeah.
When you have a support staff, the staff supports the individual board members to accomplish certain things.
Mhm.
That's a way of operating. If we don't want to operate that way, that's fine, let's get that on the table and let's talk about a new way of operating. That is the way this office has operated since before I became a commissioner. You know, Tim, Mary, or
Tracy.
Tracy,
Bill,
sorry, I didn't
Craig.
Tim, that's right. Everybody
Oh,
operated
everybody
in terms
does a little
of reaching
different.
out to, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And so if, you know, we have an obligation, I don't work for the board, I don't work for the staff, I work for the people in our county.
Yeah.
And so, and I will
That's
press
you.
this,
Yeah.
well, all
Yeah,
three of us
that's
work
you.
for the
Yeah,
people in the
yeah,
county.
but I'm
That's right.
saying, but
And so, all
We're
three of
talking
us.
about the
all three
infrastructure of this
All
office.
three of us have an obligation to do the best that we can for the people in our county. And I work as hard as anybody to
Absolutely.
ensure that I'm looking out for the best interest of the people
No
in this
doubt,
county.
no doubt. You're
And-
you're getting
and
off
so-
subject.
No,
You're
I'm not-
getting,
no,
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 you're
this is
totally
good.
off subject.
Tim,
We're talking about this office. If you want to get off into something else, then, you know, I don't want to argue with you. The point is, let's get back to the point. This office needs to have a process to it and structure. The employees, the facts are, the employees are getting stressed out and frustrated with being tasked to do other things that they are probably not in their wheelhouse, or really they should be wasting their time on. And these need to be board decisions, period, end of story. I mean,
Well, I think, you know, generally, the things that they're tasked to do, they're pretty good at, it's just there's only so many hours in the day.
Right.
Which means you're not gonna get everything done. You can only-
these are not our individual employees. I'm not paying Christie to set my calendar, I'm not paying her to book hotels for me, I'm not paying her to do anything. She's here to work for this board, all three of us. That's it.
Commissioner, do you mind if I speak?
Sure.
As you know, I spent 20 years as an elected member of boards. I was 8 years on a school board and 12 years on a board of trustees. And I feel that in those 20 years, I learned something about the art of boardmanship. As an example, when I was on the school board, I didn't read job descriptions and rewrite them. I did not sit in on interviews for employees. That was the job of the employees of the board. And we trusted them to do their jobs, and in general affirmed their decisions. I did read curriculums, I read textbooks, I felt that education was what we were there to promote on the school board. When I was a trustee, I helped them write a retention schedule, but, you know, that happened to be my expertise from here. It's just, we feel like we have jobs and want to be trusted to do them. And when I was a board member, I trusted my employees to do the jobs they were hired to do. And I guess that's kind of what, I think that's what
Yeah.
we're trying to get to with this
Absolutely.
policy, if that helps. And I don't know how to, when you say we've had a certain practice, I'm not sure what you mean by that. And when you say you want to change it, I'm not sure what you mean by that. But generally speaking, boards, in my experience, and again, I was an elected person for 20 years, trust their people to do their work. And don't do it for them, or redo it for them, or redo it for them again, that kind of thing. So, does that help? I think that's what you were trying to get to,
Yeah,
Dave, maybe?
yeah.
Well, there's a whole
Yeah.
different, that's a whole different line of conversation.
I thought that's what the
No,
conversation was.
there's I heard, we're making requests of staff. I'm not sure what those requests are. I request information. I'm not giving anybody any tasks unless I talk to Dave about it. And so I may make a request for information, and I may offer an opinion, which I'm often asked to do, and I will continue to do. So if I'm asked for an opinion on a legal document, I will give my opinion. If I'm asked for an opinion on, hiring practice or resumes or job descriptions, I will continue to give those. That's input and thoughts, and that's what I'm here to do. That's what I was hired to do, basically. And so, outside of that, I don't know that I've ever given anybody any running orders or tasks, go do this for me. And so, and I don't know that any of the other board members have done that either. But if you're asking about trust is a tricky thing, because there are certain outcomes, a vision that I'm seeking, that I may individually seek to press for. we're not all the same. We're gonna press for different interests. And so I'm gonna press for what I think is the right thing as an outcome. And it might seek that I'm getting in your shorts a little bit, because it is common practice in the general world, if you've got people working for you, to help them to understand the direction you want them to go. You've got 3 people, unfortunately, in this situation, that are all seeking. That's the reason that it's important for this board to come together, and I would agree with that 1,000%, and create a common vision for where we go. That means we're gonna have to bring everything to the table now and have a conversation. We can't do it behind closed doors, because we're required by law to have those conversations in the public eye. So let's get the tasks on the list, let's set a priority. You had a task list, Dave. Let's talk about approach, come to an agreement on the approach, if that's what we want to do, and change the practice in the office. It is given common practice that the commissioners have gone to our staff, whatever. It's been forever that Christie has scheduled meetings in CCAO. I think she's scheduled probably all the travel for whoever's going to CCAO this time around. So if that practice needs to change, that's fine, I can.
No,
Well,
I think that's
a board-
different.
That's a board activity.
So, I mean, I don't take personal travel. Everything that I do through this office is official business. Even scheduling meetings for me, which Christie has done periodically, maybe 3 times this year, is done for business, board business, not my business, not my personal business. It is to serve the people in this county. And so if that's not acceptable, that's okay. I'll hire my own admin, and I'll have that person, schedule my official business. If that's what need be, I'll change my practice. But if we want to change the practice and come together as a board, let's do that. Let's put everything on the table, put our egos aside, and have a conversation about that. I'm good with that.
Well, the board has the, I think has the authority under the law, if the board choose to do so, to staff up and hire personal assistants for each commissioner. Some large counties do that.
Yeah, I think that probably would be silly. I mean, it was as much for convenience of the office. My calendar's open to everybody in the office. So everybody in the office, including you, Linda, whoever.
Everybody's is.
Can see my calendar.
It takes like 10 seconds to
and-
put
and-
something
and
on
see
your
what's going
Everybody's
on.
calendars
People can
open.
drop
Yeah.
drop
Very easy to
appointments
do
into
it.
my calendar.
Yeah.
It was for the convenience of the office, not necessarily my convenience. So, but again, if that's an issue, fine. That practice can change. But in terms of providing input and thoughts and all that kind of stuff, probably not gonna. I'm a pretty assertive guy. I'm not gonna apologize.
I don't think
for that,
anybody's
so.
talking about your inputs and thoughts. We know you got plenty of them, so do we, everybody
Yeah,
does.
everybody
But
does.
that's not, look, again, I think, I'm here, you're here, you're talking about something, I'm talking about something. I don't know if you're quite, or, I don't know. Ralph, do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. I just want to make sure it's not me. Okay.
No, I get it.
So
It's just.
I'm talking about the usefulness and time of the staff, like.
I get it, so how can we handle that, Tim?
Well,
I
I think you
understand.
gotta, if it's gonna be something major, let Dave know, let us know, and we'll say, yes, as a board, let's do this. Let's, continue resources on this, like the JFS, the youth center. Do we wanna continue to have that discussion?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
from an operating
Yeah.
practice standpoint,
Yeah.
I don't know how that's any different from what I'm doing. Dave knows everything that I'm thinking.
Right.
And everything that I'm doing, because
That may be a
Every
stretch.
shot.
I don't know if we know.
I bring everything to Dave
Yeah.
and or to Linda.
Yeah,
I mean,
but when we say,
What's the number of that EAP?
like maybe it's time to change direction there, like, the board feels like, I know you're interested in it, but let's say the board says it's time to, back off and head in a different direction there. That's where I think.
and we can do that, but
Yeah.
the board's gotta
Yeah.
say that. This is the board
Well,
meeting.
that's what I'm saying.
A hallway conversation is not a board meeting.
Nobody's having hallway conversations
No, all I'm
about it.
saying is,
Yeah.
that I'm trying to make a point, the difference, the
Yeah.
distinction. This is an official meeting. The board makes official decisions
Right.
in this meeting. So
Right.
let's bring all that stuff in this meeting. I'm good with
Okay,
that.
okay.
So I think to
Go ahead.
summarize this.
I'm sorry.
I came late, so
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get the gist of what this conversation. Are you saying, Mr. Lennon, that if someone, one of you have a task for an employee, it has to be a board decision and not an individual one?
Well, what I'm trying to say is, as individuals, we cannot continue to ask hours and hours of staff time without it being a board decision. No, yeah, exactly. I mean, If it's a simple, these are not our, what I'm trying to say, these are not our personal employees, as, you know, Tim Lennon, Skip Claypool, or Ralph. This is the board's employees. So if we're gonna, you know, put resources and time and money and effort and having people go off and do certain tasks, like Linda was saying, filling out job descriptions, you know, she's been tasked by the board to do that, you know, not by one individual commissioner. And I think that's what we're just trying to say is we need to be cognizant of that fact, you know, of their time in you know, these are not for personal type things. This is a board. It operates as a board.
But you know what? I worked for many people. And we had a chair, and there were 18 other people. When my chair wanted me to do a project, I did it.
Right.
But the other ones have also the authority to give me work. And when I couldn't do it, and they had to wait. And I would just tell them, you have to wait.
Yeah, you gotta get more people. Yeah,
And-
yeah. We don't have the
No.
resources here to
But you
act
know
like
what?
that.
It
Yeah,
worked out fine.
yeah, right. I mean,
So I don't understand that, why, you know, if you or
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Spinelli or Mr. Claypool has a project for a
It-
staff.
But
why
it needs
they
to be a
can't do
board
it?
decision.
But-
Because this acts as a board. If the board doesn't agree with those directions, then we're not gonna continue to waste time on that. We don't have the time or the time in the day to do that. You know, this can't be if I were to task, say Linda to go off and do a study for me on how many youth in this county we need to house, and these two didn't think that's a good use of the staff's time, then they have the ability to say, Linda, do not waste your time on that any longer. We are gonna continue to go in a different direction. And that's plain and simple. This is the Board of Commissioners. That's all. I think this is what this is saying. It's pretty simple. I don't
I mean,
understand
this is
that.
a letter from Butler County to their employees. It's a simple letter, and this is what, you know, Skip was, you know, I gave them a copy. This is an example of doing it in a fairly informal way, but it still gets the message across. Let me read you this short paragraph. The Board of County Commissioners is just that, a board, and can only take action, set policy, issue directives, or assign projects as a board. This means that the support of at least two commissioners is required to take any such action. One commissioner acting alone lacks the authority to do so. In any case where an individual commissioner has attempted to give you such an assignment or directive, we expect you to verify whether a majority of the board supports the proposed action before taking any action yourself. And this is
pretty
established,
simple.
this is how counties
If I couldn't
work.
do the job, then I can't do it. Then I would go to the board and say, I'm sorry, you know, I was directed to do this, but I can't do it. What's
So there's
the
no
problem?
there's no chain of command.
Yeah.
Everybody is like a free-for-all.
Right, that's what, you know, it worked well for me.
No, I know what you're saying.
You can't.
I
You
know what you're
I
saying.
mean, you're wasting more time saying.
But, I mean, I'm in agreement with that letter, and by the way, that's my operating practice. I don't give anybody projects.
And this isn't pinpointed at you, Skip.
And no, all I'm saying
Yeah.
is, I'm good with the letter.
Yeah.
And so, let's go with the letter.
Yeah.
Let's
I
agree
mean-
that the board is gonna make decisions, and let's figure out how to make that happen.
Right.
I'm good with that.
I think that's all it is just trying to get these things to the decision process. You know, like you said, there's so much of this, you know, information gathering and data gathering and second guessing and no, this is wrong and this, I don't agree with this. It never gets to a decision. I think that's, you know, another kind of thing is, you know, let's try and speed these up so we can start knocking them down. You know, that's what I think at the end of the day is what we're trying to accomplish, you know. And I don't think anyone would argue that, but, you know, instead of all the, I know, you know, there's sometimes you just gotta jump in. You gotta jump in the water. You know, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, some of these things, and it's like, if we can research it and second guess it, and, you know, is there a better person for this position, or, you know, this or that? I mean, you just gotta, life is moving fast, and if you're not moving with it, you're going backwards, period.
So what do you want to do? Do you want us to try again for something simpler? Do you want us to issue a?
I don't know, I mean, I don't know if it really
I
needs.
think the message has been sent. Number
Yeah.
one, you know, if you wanna send a letter out to the staff, kind of following this, I would be okay with that. I mean, I think we're in agreement. I've not heard any disagreement from Ralph in the fact that the board needs to come together, set our priorities, and create tasks, and I'm good with that. I think that would be a healthy thing. But that means we're gonna have to bring more into this meeting and start having some work sessions, possibly like in Ashtabula, where they actually have work
Right,
sessions, they
that's what
actually
I've
talk
been
about meaty stuff,
And then take
and then we
those
start
two votes.
knocking them down and
So
saying,
there's
that's
not-
Right.
Take
right.
it to a vote.
I agree.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you
I
have a
think-
work session, and then you vote during the regular.
During the regular, so
You
the work
cannot-
session is
You
just.
cannot vote during a work session.
point.
A work session is strictly a work session. You have to take official action during a regular meeting.
Right.
Per your
Yeah, I
EPA.
think it'll speed things along here.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have agreement that that's what we're gonna do?
I'll draft a letter, Linda and I'll draft a letter and pass it to you guys to review. You know, for start, just to kind of establish and.
You know, and I think a perfect example is like these job applications and these job postings. I think that we need to have an understanding that when a job gets produced, there's gonna be a certain amount of, you know, of feedback that each commissioner can give on the job, on the description, to relay that back to, you know, to Dave or to, but at the end of the day, that needs to get to the point that once there's an agreement, an understanding, and there's a majority of the board, that's it. It's over. There's no commissioner that's going to take over and dictate a job application or a job posting or how this is all going to be put together. Put your feedback in it once, and at that point, it's done. These 10, 12, 18-week processes of being able to get job postings is absolutely going to be a thing of the past, because I'm not going to stand for it anymore. And I think that there's just got to be a point in time where that's going to be what it's going to be. We need to start making decisions, and I do not want to sit there and regurgitate stuff over and over and over and over and over. I don't operate that way, and I don't run my business that way. I don't run my household that way. Make a decision, you live by it, you stick by it, you move on. If you make a bad decision and something happens, then you need to figure out how to change it at that point. But at the end of the day, we need to start to make some decisions. And this whole, handling this sloppy putty and trying to make a masterpiece out of it, it's got to end. And I think that the 2 out of 1 has got to start to prevail. 2 against 1, if that's what it is, that's what it is. No hard feelings, even if I'm the one that gets, slapped every once in a while of what my idea might have been. I'm a big boy and I'll take it.
I'm up for that.
But it's just, we gotta.
Which part?
Slapping them. Can I be the one?
That's funny.
And we're not hiring more people. I'm gonna tell you, we're not hiring more people for assistance or anything else. We've got staff that can handle the jobs, but they need to be able to be involved in handling what they need to do, and what they're hired to do. And I just think that there's a point in time where we've got to be able to give them that ability to work.
Yeah, and if I could just say, as I've said, been saying all year, this is the most talented group of commissioners I've ever sat with, in terms of potential, intellect, passion, hard work. And certainly Skip takes a backseat to nobody in terms of hard work and dedication.
That's right.
He lives this job, he loves his job, he's deadly serious about this job. We all appreciate that. We have to find some kind of balance, though, on the issue of, how much do you trust your employees to do their job? Because if it becomes, maybe not intentional, but it becomes evident that there's a lack of trust there, that's very demotivating to employees. And they're like, well, there's no sense going the extra mile, because if everything I do is gonna be second-guessed, edited, changed, or whatever, then I guess I can go home at 4:30. And none of us are go home at 4:30 people. We're not. We like doing the job, we like doing a complete job. And I think that's just going forward. We gotta come up with ways where, the board feels personally responsible for everything that goes on in this county, and I get that. But at some point, you gotta be able to say, I got an employee that's got this covered, and we're gonna trust them to do their job, and if they screw up too badly, maybe they'll be gone, but we're gonna trust them to do their job.
Dave, to your point, Elected officials are only here a short time. You are the professionals that are here for a long time. And the board has to have trust in those professionals to make decisions. And if you have to question their ability, that's a whole different issue. But what I'm hearing here is there's some sort of communications falling out between everybody. But
Right.
the professional people you have are the people that are here, have been here for 20, 30 years. And the board has to understand, you're not gonna learn everything they know. So you have to put your faith in their ability. And if you think they're making mistakes, and it's up to you to prove, why they made the mistake and explain that to them and help them develop themselves. Because you're just here for a short time.
Right,
They've been here for a career.
right. No, I agree with
So,
that.
having said that,
I
there should
agree.
be some policy
Yeah.
established for that.
I agree.
So that's my 2 cents.
Who the
God
hell are
bless you all.
Thank you. No, it's true. It's true. No, I mean, I'm positive about this process, and I'm positive about this board, and I agree. We've got to, I respect working with both of them, and it's nothing personal and ever, this to me is strictly business. But, your emotions, you get invested in it because you want to do well,
Yeah.
and you want to see everyone do well. You don't want people being frustrated or employees being unhappy or, you want them in an environment where they feel like they're being productive and part of the process and taking ownership in this. And, we just got to, figure out a way to help promote that process and still be efficient and get things done, because I've been here coming up on a year, and there's some things that we've been talking about for a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, they've gone in and one out the other year so many times.
Well, some are just on hold because we need
Yeah.
more information,
Yeah.
or, there's a lack of
Some indecision
consensus.
or, I get it.
And that's reality.
And it's hard to get up here and talk about this in a general sense because there's so many, each issue stands on its own legs, so there's different meaning to it when you're talking in general. But I think the way, what I'm hearing from the staff is you're asking us to somehow, put some guidelines or parameters onto how we interact with the office. That's what I'm hearing.
Just clarify the
Yeah.
general demand. And again, this letter, I'll draft something and see if,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that in itself is, I think,
I'm
just
fine
sends a
with that.
message that everybody, understands there's a process. And again, I said, this is really, I've been dealing with this for many years now, not a whole career, but many years. And, so I can kind of roll with it, but I'm just thinking, I want to prepare the next person to do an even better job. And part of that is having the structure in place so that when I get out of the way, someone else comes in here, they have a framework they feel comfortable working in.
So David, you're trying to put together processes and procedures and protocol for the staff and the commissioners. And the commissioners.
Well, just that
Protocol.
everybody recognizes this is a logical way to do business. It
Right.
doesn't, it's not set in stone, and like Tim said, or Ralph said, if you do it wrong and something doesn't work, we change it. The goal should be for all of us to come in here every day and try and do a little better than we did the day before.
Right. I agree with you.
All right.
Okay, so then, the only other thing then, while we're talking this, is do we want to talk about this airport issue? Is there any updates that we need to be aware of on this?
There's a couple of, and I haven't got a chance to study it, but there's a couple that are concerning to me, and that paragraph would be one.
Yeah.
So, I just breezed through it, so.
For clarification, Dave, this is the first time I've seen this. The
Yes.
gray area is what had been previously proposed or changed, and the red is what is being.
Frankly, I think that's the case, but I need to have a conversation with Bridie, but we had to get this documentation, this document signed where they're okay with this
Conflict of interest.
theoretical conflict of interest, so we can have that conversation.
Ralph was asking me and I had not
Yeah.
seen it, so I'm just, that was.
Well, I haven't had time
that
to
was
study,
my
it just, it
guess.
came in yesterday morning along with the document that the commissioner just signed off on today, so.
I mean, we've had 2 rounds of changes now,
Yeah.
right? Or at least we,
Well, we've had a number.
Yeah.
That's the most, is that 13?
yeah,
Yeah, that's the most concerning.
yeah, me too. Did-
So,
Yeah.
so I guess, you know, that I had spoke to somebody over the weekend that the medical helicopter contract is like pretty much ready to be signed, and it's gonna be signed here. And I pretty much stated to him that, you know, and I just, full disclosure, I just had the conversation, he's one of the people that is gonna probably be the one that's gonna be signing this, or he's somehow involved.
Okay.
And I just explained to him that we do not have an operating agreement at this time with the airport.
Yeah.
So you
Well,
are
there's
signing. the-
liability issues there.
Right,
Yeah, they weren't
I-
even listed in the county as a.
Exactly, as a signee on it.
Yeah,
So I explained to him that you are signing a document that is pretty much somebody that is not officiated an
Yeah.
agreement with us for that property.
yeah, nowhere is the listed county as a
Exactly.
liability or asset owner
Yeah.
of the
Well,
property.
they have to sign off on us.
I'm not sure the document
Yeah, it's-
doesn't refer to the fact the county owns the property.
'Cause they have to
I thought
include
there
us-
was an acknowledgement that you guys were
They
gonna
have to
sign.
include us on the insurance policy.
Not
as a
that
named-
lease.
Not the one, the
No,
latest one
no,
with them?
mm-mm.
No?
They have to include us as a named insured on that property.
So we just,
And
we,
so-
you know, I don't know where the roadblock is here. This is just dumbfound, you know, I'm just befuddled by this, but it's something that we need to get some answers. And once again, I think that, you know, we don't necessarily need to be the bull in the china shop, but here is a perfect scenario. It's like, we're either gonna need to get this done, or we're gonna need to get this done. But one of those 2 options is what needs to happen here. And it's either we continue to move forward to get this figured out, or we have to make some decisions. And I just don't wanna go into 2018 or a situation where we have that medical helicopter contract, and all of a sudden, you know, and discussing with them on Saturday, is they wanna be here, you know, they wanna be here, and from what I understand is this, what they want, what they basically, I guess, have discussed is, they want their own hangar. Right now, what they're doing is.
They share that one big hangar.
They're sharing the big hangar, and they pull the helicopter into the center of the big hangar. They've got planes or whatever around it. They want their own hangar so that they can have a protected hangar for, you know, the security. You know, and he didn't bring this up, but I just know this from my past of always the situations of ambulances, is that there's medications, there's drugs and all that other stuff that's on the helicopter, that there's always that security concern. So that's a valid issue right there of being able to have, you know, a security issue, that they don't have a full-time guy that sits there guarding the helicopter, but to be able to do that, and the fact of the matter is they're willing to pay, you know, over the course of however long the agreement is, for that hangar space, and then it basically continues to be theirs after that of use, or reverts back to the county. So I just think that this is a perfect example of, we need to stop letting the grass grow between our toes and get moving on this to figure out how to make this better. And if there's a position of ownership, they're going to be committed down the road too to remain there. And it's a huge service that we don't want to lose for our county, for medical services and everything
Well,
else.
you know, this has been, you know, since I got here, we've been talking about this airport, and it's been out of agreement since I got here. You know,
Right.
There's been no
Since
agreement.
April.
So, but we've been, this board, just to be clear to everyone, we've been very proactive in trying to, you know, we've put probably 3 or 4 different agreements in front of them, and it keeps coming back with different changes. you know.
So let me suggest this,
Yeah.
because I had suggested this a while back. We can have an agreement with the stability agreement with their methods. It doesn't have to be with the airport authority. They're on our airport, and we can create an agreement. That, regardless of where this all goes, we could theoretically create an agreement with them. I don't know if you guys would have an interest,
Right.
but it wouldn't be a difficult thing to do, and it could model the one that's already in existence. So it's an opportunity And it would certainly help us to create the bridge to get beyond all this nonsense.
The only problem is that I just feel that there's too many ingredients then in the soup. I think that we just, I don't think that it's really necessary to have our own agreement, and then, this should be a fine working wheel here.
So how would you get through this, though? I wouldn't be in
We
disagreement.
need to basically, the bottom line is we need to tell the airport commissioners to say, here's the agreement. We have given you everything that you have asked for and then some. And we have done everything above and beyond what you have requested. And it's never good enough. So it's either you're going to get to a point that you guys are going to finally get to an agreement and sign this, or we respectfully will move on, hand us the keys, and we will take care of it from here. That's the only other option we have. And I don't really want to take on the whole responsibility of having an airport while we have a whole lot of other things going on. And I think that it needs to be very point and clear that it is not the county commissioners that are bucking this process. We have had Saturday meetings with them, public meetings to be able to do this. Prosecutor involved,
Tons of time.
and it's just, where does this go? And every time we have met, we leave here like we were, best of friends. Where this is like this love relationship, and all of a sudden they leave, and it's like, wait a minute, were we not all at this meeting? And so I'm just at the point where it's like, enough. Enough. We need to draw the line in the sand, and what are we gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, that's
Well,
what Bridie's working on it. Again, they're contesting even calling it operating agreement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at today.
Co-sponsorship.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even like the title operating agreement, so that might
See,
tell
the
you
issue,
something.
just so the audience understands, the Geauga County Airport is owned by the county commissioners. And early in its existence, the county commissioners would hire an FBO, a fixed-base operator, to operate the airport. Apparently, and I don't know all the history, but apparently there were issues with that. And there was an ability under Ohio Revised Code for the commissioners to create an airport authority, a board of people that are directly responsible for operating the airport on a daily basis. The only issue is the ORC gave the commissioners the ability to create this entity, but did not give them a clear way to, if it appeared it wasn't going to work right, to do away with that authority. So that authority now exists as its own legal entity. It has its own powers, and I think the board members have been advised that, well, we can do certain things on our own, and the commissioners owning the property and wanting to see the airport used as an economic development asset have been a little frustrated that, the things they've asked the airport authority to do are just things I think would be beneficial to the airport authority, but we've just gotten pushback all along the way from the airport authority.
Yeah, the perception's been that it's kind of a, how is it helping the 99% of the rest of the population of Geauga County? It's kind of been a sweetheart deal for the guys that, be able to keep your plane out there at a pretty cheap price, but I mean,
Right.
What can we do to expand upon that in economic development? Is there any interest from the surrounding businesses and such? And so we've entered into that discussion with them, which I think they're interested in that as well. But, if we can't even get off first base on what to name a lease agreement, I mean, this has been a year, and we've been, I think, more than accommodating. We actually, every request that they wanted to change in this agreement, we put in. I mean,
It's like
every single
Prego,
one.
it's in there.
Every one.
That's right.
Yeah. And they still got a problem with this thing, and it's costing, our prosecutor's office has been on this for over a year. If we were using your own money, my money, this would never happen.
No.
Period.
Right.
Nowhere with anyone else, so, it's just, again,
That's why we're at the end, and it's like, where do we go?
And I would be in agreement. If that's what you want to do, then I would be in agreement with that. We
But
just-
let's,
we put a good contract on the table
mhm.
and said, look, guys, here's everything, like you said, we're done. We gotta move on.
Well, with the board's permission, I'll call Bridie and ask just for clarification on the changes or markups on this agreement, so we all know.
Yep.
And I'll ask her where specifically where the Air Methods lease is and what she knows is in it.
Okay.
And then, at some point, you might wanna just have a direct discussion where she provides you all information, just to, so that you're all on the same page, because I don't wanna lose anything in the filter.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
Okay.
so I'll do that.
Yeah, I would, I mean, I'm the attorney or legal mind, but I would say, without our name being in that lease with Air Methods, that is
Right.
null and
Well,
void.
we need to
Yeah.
clarify, how
Yeah.
are the commissioners actually represented?
Well, in the past, we actually had to sign that agreement.
Yeah,
I don't know if our signature line is on the current agreement.
well, I think it was acknowledged. I think the current agreement that expired in April, I think there was an acknowledgement.
Because in essence, we have to be included because we have to be named insured in that agreement. We have the
And you're
insurance on
liability
the
on the
property.
property.
Yeah,
And so, and we have liability for the property if something should happen on the property.
absolutely.
So, I mean,
Were they
that's-
coming after if something happened?
That's right.
Yeah.
What was the other issue that we had talked about this morning that, you wanted maybe bring up to get some clarification on?
He wasn't talking to Chardon about that.
Oh, yeah, exactly, so the letter to Chardon, so that we could get some closure on this too.
Right.
What are we, Dave, you drafted a letter.
I drafted a
Had the
letter.
prosecutor review it.
The prosecutor reviewed it, said it was fine, but, there's some questions raised as to, do we get into too much, detail in the letter? I mean, you could keep it basically simple and communicate that, they're basically, what the start is, they're looking for some kind of a conclusive decision from you folks as to what, if any, participation you wanted to provide in their repairs of the wall that's been established, that's really their responsibility.
Okay.
So, I mean, it could
And
be
I provided
simply,
the feedback. Sometimes when you get too verbose in these kind of letters, you create more liability for yourself, because everything you say then can come back on you if you're not careful.
I mean, I thought the letter
We don't-
was
we
good,
don't-
I mean, if I was on the receiving side of this, I don't know, Tim, what you thought, but at the end of the day, that's just one of the other ones, so we need to just kind of get this submitted and get a response.
I think a simple little letter would be better, because there isn't an agreement, and we simply say that and say, look, guys, until we have an agreement,
Well,
we don't
if we
need to
could
go
get
into a
this,
lot of the other
figured out and
conversations
worked
about
on it, and maybe if you wanted to send it to us, that way we can hopefully get this resolved by the beginning of the week,
Okay, okay.
so we could get it on for
Okay.
Tuesday.
right.
All right.
Yeah, we were trying to
If
put,
we took that out.
we were trying to put a
Okay.
lot in there to
Okay.
accomplish a
That's
couple
fine.
other things, but I think Skip's point was made just to keep it simple.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Well, if we want to,
I'll draft something,
Yeah.
I'll
We'll
draft
get it on
something
for
simplified.
Tuesday next week
Yeah.
then, okay?
okay. No, I'm not signing those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
other than that,
we got Bowen waiting outside.
okay, so we'll go ahead at 11 or 10:45 to adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
And then we'll go ahead and start the work session here in a couple minutes.